So I am really glad you're back on, and I love your sweatshirt. We kept trying to make this happen, but you had a work schedule that I do well in the mornings, and you are not here in the mornings.
I know.
Darn. But your sweatshirt is amazing. I am digging all the spoons.
Yeah, all my spoons there, yes.
That is fabulous. I think in Pride colors, is that right?
Yeah.
That is fantastic. I want to kind of like refresh because some people might not have seen or heard your episode where you told us everything that's going on with you. So if you want to give us a little roundup on what's going on.
Sure. So I'm Julie. I, about 2 years ago, started having some weird symptoms. In the fall of 2017, I had a little bit of symptoms and they weren't too bad. They kind of went away, kind of unexplained. And then starting in March of 2018, they came on really, really badly. Severe pain was my main symptom, but then I also had other things like brain fog and like massive fatigue. A few times I passed out, things like that. Long story short, doctor's visits, hospital visits, etc., lots of scans and things. Eventually got diagnosed with a disorder called Nutcracker syndrome. And I know it gets you every time.
It really does. But the funny thing was, is like, I hadn't heard of it, and all of a sudden your episode went, and we got a ton of emails from people going, okay, yes, I have this too, and no one else has heard of it. So it was really interesting, yeah.
So it's not made up, I promise. Nothing to do with ballet or the holidays or anything like that. So what happens is, like, so let's say my fist is my kidney and my finger would be the vein that comes out of the kidney. So your kidney filters the blood and then brings fresh blood back to your body. So you should have two arteries that open nice and wide around it, about a 90-degree angle. Mine was squished so tight it was less than a 20-degree angle. So that's why they call it Nutcracker syndrome, because it's like a nut being squished in a nutcracker. So it causes all this back pressure, and that's what causes a lot of the pain. Also, since not much of my blood was getting through, I was more than 75% blocked. So the kidney was making their own collateral veins elsewhere, which are new veins, and some of those were wrapping around my spine. So that's why I had a lot of nerve damage and nerve pain and things too. Eventually, bopping around specialist to specialist, eventually Kaiser got me to be able to be referred to UCSD Transplant Center, and they were able to give me in the fall of 2018, so it's been a bit over a year now, about a year and 3 months or so. I had a kidney auto transplant, so they took my left kidney, which, by the way, if you didn't hear my first episode, that's my only kidney. So ever since I was a baby, I didn't have a right kidney. So my left kidney had to be transported to my right pelvis. So now all that anatomy is down in my right pelvis. So I've been in recovery ever since the fall of 2018. So that's kind of a recap of my disorder and my treatment.
That was a very good recap, and
I've explained it a few times.
You really have it down. I think most of us do. We have our elevator pitch for our disorders, where we can just go through the basics. Like here's the 10-minute pitch. You definitely don't want to buy into any of these disorders. That's the 10-minute pitch. You also are a teacher, and I was just amazed at how your disability works with teaching and how long you arbitrarily get to recover.
Right. So as teachers, we actually don't get like the government disability. So very fortunately, I had listened to a very wise mentor teacher of mine many years ago and signed up for like our teacher disability. So I had been paying my like monthly fee for it, and with the thought of like, oh, I'm never really going to use this, or at least not anytime. Maybe when I'm older I'll use it or something. But for whatever reason, I listened to her and I signed up in my 20s, and then wouldn't you know it, in my early 30s, I was already applying for it. So I, fortunately, with my district, we're allowed to save our unused sick days. And in the past, I had always been like pretty good at not really using them. So I actually had almost 2 months worth of sick days and my personal days not used that we get to roll over each year. I'd been in my district about 9 years by the time I got sick. So I had like 50 or 60 almost unused days. So at first you use all those up when you're out. So I was being paid full-time in the beginning, and then once those got used up, then I could start applying my disability. But of course, that's only like a percentage of your salary. It's not full salary. So to go from being able to work full-time to all of a sudden I'm getting like 2/3 pay, like if that, on top of now I have a ton of medical bills, and I mean, I was buying devices and things left and right, like, I had to have a walker for a while. I bought that. I had to use a cane. At one point, it was so bad I had to buy a wheelchair, going through heating pads and all kinds of things. So you're getting paid less and you have all these extra expenses. So
it's truly the most expensive hobby ever. Like, there's no more expensive hobby than disability and chronic illness.
Yes. Yeah, for some reason at one point I was like writing down everything I was spending money on, and my husband was like, "Why are you doing this?" I was like, "I don't know, for some reason like I wanted to keep track of how much it cost," and then it was just getting, once I hit the $1,000 mark, I was like, in like a few months, I was like, "Wow, this is really depressing." He's like, "Stop."
Stop.
Well, get it if you need it. Like, you don't need to feel bad about how much money, or you don't have to, like, pay us back or something. Like, why are you writing it down? I don't know.
I actually do the same thing. It used to be that you could take it off of your taxes if it ended up being a certain percentage of your income. But it's, I think the laws changed on that. If anyone who's listening outside of the United States is wondering what we're talking about when we're saying sick days, you don't get to just stay home if you're sick. You hopefully work for something that's big enough that either has instilled sick days or you are gifted sick days. And those are the amount of days per year that you can be not at work because you are sick. So like my husband has 14 days, I think, a year that he can be sick. That's it. If he's sick other than that, then either he has to take a vacation time or he just has to go in, or he could get fired. So just, anyone who's in a sane country where this is, you stay home if you have the flu, or you stay home if you've had surgery, or any of these things, that's just kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I was pretty good for a while. I did have to do a couple of weeks without any pay at all, because my recovery took a little bit longer than expected, and even my disability time had run out. So my sick days ran out, and then I had disability for a few months, and then I still wasn't quite ready to go back. So there was like close to 3 weeks where I just like didn't have any pay at all. And part of why I did push to go back is because my insurance was about to run out at work. So here I am, like with all these terrible issues, just having massive surgery, and they're like, "You come back this month or you don't have insurance." And it's like, wow. Okay, I guess I'm coming back next month.
Yeah. And then sidebar again for our people outside the United States, our insurance is tied to our employers. That's, just, we don't get it through the government. We have to get through working with our employers. That's beyond cruel. Did they have any other solutions for you, or is just come back or else you lose insurance?
I could have paid, but it would have been like astronomical to pay for the insurance, like the COBRA kind of.
Yeah, we were at like almost $2,000 a month when they offered COBRA to us.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, so I wouldn't be getting paid if I stayed out longer, and I'd have to pay all this money in insurance. Like, we ran out of our savings. Like, we've been pretty good, my husband and I, with, always having money in the bank as savings just in case something happens, and then it was like, okay, so we'll dip into our savings this month for this bill. Okay, we'll dip into our savings for this month. And then it was like, wow, we're like almost are at zero.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely need to push to go back to work then.
So what happened was, I know you were like still using a wheelchair. You had some colleagues who helped you, but it sounded like the school you were at was not terribly accessible.
No, my high school that I work at is kind of built like into the side of a big, huge hill. So we have multiple levels of our school, and then the building that I'm in, I'm on the second floor. So the other thing is we're very spread out. It's almost more like a college campus, like how big it is. So like from the parking lot back to my room, which of course is like the opposite side of campus in the back corner upstairs. So even just physically getting from the parking lot to my car takes many minutes, even for a healthy person, let alone someone who's, struggling. So part of me waiting to go back was like, can I physically walk that distance? Can I physically walk up the stairs in case the elevator's not working? I'm in a science lab, so the doors are really heavy because they do this special like blast proof door. So like even when I was sick, like I could barely even push open my own classroom doors because it was so heavy. And I was in talks with the principals about like, do we maybe need to put in one of those little buttons to open it, and like how would that work with the science door, and So like all of these physical things were part of the reason why I stayed out. Originally the surgeons had said for healing, but now I realize they meant just like physical healing was like 3 to 4 months after surgery. So that's what I originally told my principal, at least 3 to 4 months, and then maybe I can come back, which would have put me at coming back at like January time last year. But as it got closer and closer, I'm like, would try to do like little walks with the dogs or other like activities at home. And I would get so tired that I'm like, I don't think I can go back after 4 months. I fortunately had a fabulous long-term sub. She did a wonderful job. So she was doing great with the classroom. So I didn't have to worry about that. But originally I was going to see if she could job share in January, and at first it didn't sound like she wanted to. So it was like, if I come back in January after the holidays, I'd have to come back full time. And there was no way that I was making it full time. Plus I live about 30 miles from my school. So it was also commuting in the car all that distance. So after talking to my surgeons, they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to clear you to go back to work full time. So then I had to go back to my school and be like, yeah, I'm not coming back in January. I can't do it. We're on a trimester schedule, so the grading period ends in the very beginning of March, and then a new one begins. So March was 6 months after surgery for me. So I was like, okay, that could be a little bit more reasonable. So I wound up staying at home an extra 2 months, and that's where it got me into like a few weeks of not having pay, but it was worth it for me to be home and just rest a bit longer. And then just from March to June, I was like, okay, that's only a 3-month period before summer. Like I could push it and, try to get through it, and then I'll have summer to rest. So we decided to just let me wait until that grading period was going to switch over. So I would have like a fresh group of students and, be able to come back at a better time than like the middle of the year. So we wound up doing that. And then at that time I did recontact my long-term sub, and with it being March, it was kind of a weird time of the year. And she was like, I don't see any other job openings. So yeah, I will job share with you. So she stayed on 50% and I took 50%. And then she let me do the morning classes because like you, I do better in the mornings too. Are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here. Skype is definitely not our friend. So we switched over to Zoom, and it's definitely not fun. Okay. Yeah, that's why we switched over to Zoom. Skype is super unreliable. But you were saying, like, you were able to take the morning. Did that mean you had to take the 50% pay cut as well?
Yes. Oh. Yes. I went back to work, but I didn't make much because I wanted to try to go back, and I thought it would be a good idea physically and mentally to try just part-time. So I did the 50%, I got the mornings, and then I would get to leave at like lunchtime-ish. I would usually eat lunch at school, and then I would go home after that, and then my long-term sub would do the afternoon classes for me. But yeah, that meant I only got paid 50%, and then it meant my insurance was quadruple the price that it normally is. It's pretty crazy.
We're in like
not just as much as normal, quadruple the cost as normal. So like my actual take home pay was like hardly anything at all.
And like you and I, we get along so well because we're in like pretty similar situations and things. And one of the things that we have is we are married and we have a partner who works full time. And so like that's like as insane as people who are listening in other countries are going, oh my God, you people in America are like going bankrupt and dying. Yeah, we are. That's absolutely true. That is not overestimating this. But we're lucky enough that we have a spouse who brings home money. Like if you had to do this and you were living on your own in an apartment or in a house that you owned, you wouldn't be able to make your mortgage during that time. Like, yeah, there's no way you can. This is. I'm so sorry to like hijack, but this is like something that we're in the middle of like dealing with right now. Talking to my husband's bosses because they just changed our insurance to $6,000 deductible. So that means we had to pay $6,000 before the insurance does anything, and then it's only 85%. I was trying to explain it to my parents. I was like, we don't know if we can stay here because there's no way to save enough money to make sure you don't go bankrupt, because one hospital visit here can cost $200,000 even without staying. If you just go in and get the test done, it can be $200,000. So it's not anything you can ever plan for. Like, and so with what you're saying, like where you're like, okay, I'm going back half time, but I don't even get any take home for that. And already you're pushed to your physical limit and almost going against doctor's orders. Like, it's just baffling right now. I'm sorry if I'm a little distracted today. This is like seriously something we're just dealing with last night. It's like, what are we going to do?
Yeah. I know. It's also crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I'm on disability. You're teaching. Like, you would think that the teachers would be taken better care of.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah. I mean, that's where, like, you know, everyone talks about the inspiration porn where there's, like, a teacher who's going through chemo and all the other teachers band together and donate their sick days so the teacher can go get chemotherapy. And everyone's like, oh, that's great and lovely. It's like, yeah, the people are lovely. The system is cruel. Like,
it's that it had to come to that.
Right? And teachers, like, the people we need to be there to do things. Like, it's insane to me. So how have you done your... You're just finishing off winter break.
Yeah, so luckily I had 2 weeks off right now. So let's go back a little bit. So I went back in the spring of last year, 50%, just mornings, and I just had 2 classes. They're like both about 70 minutes long, and they were both the same thing. So luckily I just had one class to prep, and I'm a science teacher, so it was just, you know, if there was ever labs, it would just be one lab to prep. I would usually set it up, and then the other teacher would finish out and like clean everything up. So it was really nice. We kept like taking turns, helping each other. I knew the material better because I had been teaching for longer. She was a newer teacher. So I would usually do a lot more of the planning, but like if I was ever having a bad day or something, I'd be like, I'm so sorry, can you do tomorrow's lesson? Like I have to go home and rest. And she would. And it was, you know, it was always great and, you know, nice to work with like a newer person and, you know, new with the standards. I was in school over 10 years ago, so I'm sure the standards are a little bit out of practice for me. So it was nice to have somebody to work with again and fresh eyes and things. So that was really fun. And then I had the summer to just rest. I was like, sometimes I would, you know, do a summer camp or professional development, but this summer I was like, nope, I'm not doing anything. I just rested. It's like, it's not worth it for me to try to do anything. So just rested. And then in the fall, which is really August, end of August, we went back to school and I took on a few more hours. So I was up to 75%. So pay went up a little bit, and then insurance cost a little bit less than what it was before. So not as good as it is, but when I could be full-time, but a little bit better. Now I'm up to 2 separate classes that I prep for, so it's a little bit more work. And the long-term sub, she was able to get her own job at a different school. She and I still keep in touch because she has great ideas and stuff, so we'll be like, oh, here's a PowerPoint I did or a lesson. So that's been really nice to be like, hey, do you already have a quiz for this? Or so we'll share with each other, but unfortunately we don't get to work together anymore. So that was a big adjustment to go back to like, okay, now it's just me and just this class, and now I have 2 classes to prep for. So that was a big change to have to worry about. Do I have both the lessons ready for tomorrow, or both the labs, or both the activities, both the material? So that was quite a bit extra to do, plus extra classes of students. So that meant more grading, more time, you know, with things like that. So a little bit tougher. Was able to kind of handle it okay. Only had to take a few sick days so far this year. Trying to save them for like if I ever get like real bad or anything like that. But the big thing was this December started a new trimester for us, and that's where I had to be full time. So I've done about 3 weeks so far, completely full-time hours, and that has been really tough.
How was the support with the administration, with your bosses?
They are great. However, it's a little bit strange because my principal, who I had been working with for almost 10 years, he had this dream of eventually moving his family to another country, and they did that last summer. I believe it moved over the summer. So new administration, they kind of knew me a little bit from last year, but they didn't know the whole story. And then one of the assistant principals is totally brand new, like, so she had no idea at all. So I had to, like, at the beginning of the school year, plus we had a bunch of new teachers, so I just did another email like, hi, in case all of you don't know, like, this is me, and this is my story. And I sent them a link to an article from UCSD that I was in, and a link to your podcast.
Yay!
And this is me, in case you want to learn more about me. Like, you see me just walking around, and you probably don't realize, like, I've just gone through all this stuff. So it was a little weird to have to, like, re-explain everything to everybody and kind of point out how serious it was, because they just see me, 30-something-year-old walking around like, oh, I'm like, okay. They wouldn't think anything, special. So if there are ever times where they see me, like, sitting down all flushed or whatever, they're like, what's going on? I'm like, remember the little kidney transplant thing? Oh, that was you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you work at a really big school. It's not like, in some of the smaller towns where it's just, one building. I mean, you're almost like at a junior college with...
Yeah. So they've been great, but sometimes I just have to remind them of, like, okay, I'm still in recovery. I'm still not 100% back. And I think people in general are, if they haven't been through anything big, are like, oh, it's been a year or so, you're just recovered and you're better, right? You're back to normal. And it's like, well, I don't think I'm ever really going to be back to what I was before I got sick. And yes, I am so much better than I was. Like, don't get me wrong, this surgery did fix my nutcracker, and that pain is gone. But I still have a lot of, like, lingering aches and pains and soreness. I can do a lot more than I could before, but I still have to limit myself with, like, how much activity I do. I still need to be careful of, like, what I eat. There's still some food that, like, really upset my stomach. I'm sure you can understand all the different medicines I was on, like, just totally wrecked my, GI tract. So there's still stuff that I eat, and I'm like, oh, bad idea. Let me go get my digestive tubes and my Tums. And, yeah, there's still some lingering stuff going on.
That was the other issue last night. My husband had not what I would call a fight, but a come to Jesus moment. It was a very, like, just the discussion on how you time your medication, and, like, just trying to explain to him, like, if you're home 2 hours later, I've completely switched what medicines I took. Like, because, it's that kind of thing where people don't, if you don't have a medication grouping where you're like, okay, I can take this, but I'm going to be completely a zombie, or I can take this, but there's going to be a huge digestive issue, so I don't want to go out if I take this pill. Like, I need to be near the bathroom if I'm going to take this one. Like, it's hard to explain to people, like, how much you have to factor into your life, like, what you eat, what you can ingest, and what you can ingest with what pill at what time. Like, there's a lot of mental gymnastics.
Yeah, over the summer, I weaned off of gabapentin, was my, like, final nerve pain med. So I in the fall of last year, I was able to wean off the narcotics and eventually wean off of the muscle pain medicine. But then I finally weaned off of the gabapentin, and oh my gosh, detox was horrible from that. Like, I don't think people understand, like, oh, you just don't take that medicine anymore. And, like, thank goodness I decided to wait till summer when I wasn't working that I had that opportunity, because it was awful. Like, I felt like a crazy drug addict or something. Like, several weeks of, like, just horrible feelings and upset stomach and headaches, and, it was just terrible, like, feeling jittery and shaky and, like, just having to deal with all of that. Like, you think you're better, and you're like, oh, it's a good thing to get off my medicine, and then I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Is this bad that I'm off of it, or should I just keep taking it? I don't know.
So were you, like, weaned off of it, or did they just go, okay, this is the date you're done?
No, we weaned off of it. We did slow it down, because I was taking 3 a day, so then it was like a week of 2 a day, and then a week of 1 a day, and then every other day. So it did take several weeks to get off of it, but even still, like, just detoxing all of that out of your body. And And the other thing is with all my testing and whatnot, I found out that I had that MTHFR disorder, which is a genetic mutation that has to do with not being able to methylate fully as well. And that's part of being able to detox things out of your body, so it makes you not as efficient as detoxing things. So here I am with all my surgeries and pain and stuff being on medication, and my body's having a hard time with it, so then I'm trying to wean off, but then again, my body's having a hard time detoxing it from it because I have this other genetic mutation. It's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't.
It really, like, it is such a, like, almost like Grecian Sisyphus sort of, like, underworld punishments of, like, yes, we can do this, and this is going to happen, and make it all not count or not work at all. That is insanity. How did it go with all the kids? Were they aware of what you were dealing with, or were you?
Yes, I was very open with all my students and parents and whatnot. But when I was still trying to work for a while, it was like a month and a half of me still trying to work when I was very, like, obviously openly sick. You know, you try to do your best as a teacher to not really show if you're not feeling well usually, but I mean, you can do that if you, like, have a cold or something, but not when you're in the level of pain that I was in. So at that point, my older students saw me getting that sick. So when they saw me coming back, they knew what happened. They were very, supportive and happy to see me back and everything. They've been great. The newer students who didn't know me at the time, like, I had to kind of explain, like, all right, so I'm only here in the mornings. If you need me, like, no, I'm not here in the afternoons. You have to email me, or, if you see me sitting down more, like, I have to rest. So I, kind of gave them the whole spiel, and I emailed all the parents with the link to my article, like, okay, this is what I just went through, and be patient with me if I, take a while to grade your kids' papers or whatnot. Like, I have a lot of doctor's appointments, I need to rest a lot, So I've been very open because I wanted people to know. I didn't want them to just be like, who's this teacher? I'm like, why is she taking forever? Or, like, what's wrong with her? Why is she taking all these sick days? So I wanted them to, be aware of everything and hopefully a little empathetic rather than, like, you can grade this quiz for a week, just, like, come at me or something. Like, whatever, there's a reason why. Yeah, so the community has been very supportive.
Managing expectations, I've learned, is, like, the most important thing anyone can do, because where, like, big problems come up is because expectations weren't met. And I find that, like, true in just about everything.
Yeah, so I've been very forward with pretty much everybody. Friends, family, other teachers, parents, students. Some of them had seen me, like, wearing braces or using the cane or whatnot. Some of them had seen me sitting with the heating pad. So, like, I would just be very open, like, I'm having pain today, I need to go sit down. If you have a question, can you come up to me, like, bring your computer up to me if you have a question. So they've been pretty good about that. They've also been really cute. Like, if I'm like, oh, can somebody pass out the papers for me? Oh, I'll pass them out for you, So, like, giving them more responsibility and asking for help. Like, usually there's at least a couple of students who are very understanding and are excited to, get up and be helpful. So that's been really good.
I used to be a long-term sub, and I was amazed, like, how, like, helpful is. I had the same disorder I would be long-term subbing the teacher for, but she had sick days. I, as a substitute, didn't. So I would be in there having the same flare she was. And, like, I couldn't believe how great the students were. Like, a whole room full of 13-year-olds. And they were, like, the nicest people. Like, oh, you're having trouble walking. No worries. I got this. And I'm like, wow, you guys are great.
Yeah, every once in a while, they'll even tell me, like, you can go sit down now. Like, go rest. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they get very...
Stand for us. And they're teenagers. They're like, don't stand over us. Go away, lady.
Please. Like, you can just... if you don't see anything that's going on here, that's great, too. Is there anyone else to update us on what's going on with you and how everything's going? Are you all done with the surgeries, or are you scheduled for more?
Am I done with what?
Are you done with all the surgeries now?
As far as I know, yes, hopefully.
Yeah. As far as our plan.
So that should be it as far as surgeries go. I did, like, a lot of physical therapy, but I graduated from that a few months ago. I was doing acupuncture and cupping and different things like that. but I recently had stopped for those as well. It was really hard to maintain going back to work and all the appointments. So part of it was like I was doing better, but part of it is also like, how do I work and commute and fit this in? So some of it was like I was ready to be done, and some of it was more like I kind of just have to take a break for now. So overall, I'm doing a lot better, and I have more energy. I'm able to do more, like help a little bit more around the house and things like that. But I still need to be careful, and I still need to, ask for help when needed. A couple of things I wanted to mention. I wrote myself little notes here. I forgot to mention when I went back to work. The very first few weeks, I was so nervous about being back to work plus commuting. So my husband and I had saved up some money on the side, and we rented an Airbnb that was a lot closer to my work. So for like the first almost 3 weeks, I just got to be like 10-minute drive to work and back, and then I would be home and just rest. So then he would do the commuting, because we both work, of course, on opposite sides of the county. So we picked an Airbnb that was much closer to my work for the time, just to like make sure I was okay getting back to work and commuting. So any of you who are trying to work while you're disabled or, after surgery, you might want to consider making some concessions and doing some things. So doing the Airbnb a lot closer.
If you have the resources, really, that's amazing. Like if you have that resource to be able to do that, that's fantastic.
Yeah, because now that I'm back to just commuting myself, like that's rough. Like I'll get through my day and I'll be okay, and then an hour commute home. Then by then, like I'll just come in like a zombie. My husband's like, "Uh-oh, bad day, bad commute." Like he's like, "Sit down. Here's a heating pad. I got dinner." Like,
seriously,
he can tell just by looking at me like what kind of day I've had or how good or bad the traffic was that day.
I mean, it's just like the thought of like commuting in traffic is just so like insurmountable. But like if you don't have access to a vehicle and you have to like get on a bus, wait at a bus stop, get on a train, get to like, it's so like there's someone in my Ehlers-Danlos group who has to do that just to get to physical therapy. And then like getting back, I'm like, I bow down, and I'm so wishing there was some better way to like, I want Uber and Lyft to start subsidizing, car rides for disabled and people who need to get places, because and not anyone who just needs to get anywhere. Of course, they have a business model. I'm just saying for like disabled people to get them to doctor's appointments, or like they have billions and they need a good PR wash really right now. So I think they should step this up, and they would get the tax write-off. I really think they should consider doing this for people.
Yeah, I've been thinking about stuff like that a lot lately, because I keep seeing the commercials for like the American Cancer Society and all the stuff that they do for patients with cancer, which is phenomenal. That's fantastic. But if you don't have cancer and have a different disability, then you don't have free rides, and you don't have free house cleaning, and you don't have people bringing you meals. And it's like, okay, yes, I totally understand and I support that. But what about all the people who don't have cancer? Like, we can't dip into that fund, but we still have problems. So what's the organization for us to get free rides, or for us to have people be our angels to clean our house once a month, or whatever it is? Like, what's that organization for?
Yeah, exactly. And that's something even I've been talking about with the podcast, is we wanted to grow it to becoming something bigger so that we can create something like that. That is our end goal, is that we'd be able to create a fund for people with disability and chronic illness that would be able to do that kind of support. I also want to make sure we have a political arm to have a lobby for chronic illness and disability, to really push for universal design and slush funds like that for everyone.
Yeah.
So 20 years is the end goal on this. Hopefully we'll all be okay to do that.
Okay. We'll see it one day.
I'm hoping. I'm sure trying for it. What other notes did you have on there?
Another thing that I started, which we've been having so much fun with, so just work alone and commuting basically takes all my energy, but then, what do you do for the rest of life? Like all your meals and your cooking and your dog walking and whatnot. So I had realized that several of my other friends would usually do meal prep over the weekends too. And so I contacted them in the fall and was like, would you want to do meal prep together rather than each of us doing our own and then having like a week's worth of the same meal that we get tired of. So once a week, usually on Sundays, as long as everybody's okay and like feeling up for it, we usually take turns at each other's houses. And one of the people is literally my next door neighbor, so that's very convenient. So each couple is responsible for one meal, and then we meet up and bring Tupperware, and then we share all the meals that we make, and then go home with like a week's worth of stuff. So that's been a big help. So those are our dinners throughout the week. So we just basically cook on Saturdays or Sunday, and then we meet our friends, and then throughout the week we just have stuff that we could heat up and microwave. So if I am having a really bad day, or commuting was rough, and bring on a flare or something, I can just go to the microwave and be like, okay, here's my pre-made meal, and heat that up. So little tricks like that have been really helpful.
That is brilliant. I think that's an incredible idea. If you have people around you, I like the one thing I just discovered was the Instapot. Like that's been everything for my family, because you can do the meal prep in the morning when you have energy and make that. But that's such a great way to have like multiple meals. That's the problem with meal prep is like, oh, if I see one more like mason jar salad, I'm going to kill someone. So
yeah, that's what because my husband and I would kind of already meal prep, but it's like, okay, the fourth day of chili, like I can't handle it. What the heck? So we're like, wait a second, you meal prep and you meal prep? Can we just like swap meals? And then you just have a day or two of each one, so you never really get sick of it. So that's been working out really well. And then I also do stuff, like sometimes it's a little bit more expensive at the food store, but it's so much more worth it for me, is like maybe if I want pineapple, but it's a pain in the butt to cut, like I'll just buy the pre-cut pineapple, or the shredded carrots, like I'll just buy the bag that's already shredded, or the mix of stir-fry veggies already together. Like I'll take those little shortcuts, like it's going to save me spoons later, then fine, I'll pay the extra $1 for the package of it and go bloop, okay, there's my steamed vegetables, and not have to sit there at the counter for 20 minutes chopping vegetables. Little tricks like that really help.
Aside from sane leadership, 2020, I want Trader Joe's to decide to do like biologically proper packaging so that they don't have the single-use plastic, because that's so much more helpful to be able to buy the sliced pineapple, the sliced, the shredded carrots, But I'm like looking at going, this is a world of plastic. And I'm like, God, between like being disabled and an environmentalist, like I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. I feel like I'm being torn in half all the time from like those issues. But you're right. It's something like the plastic straws. This was invented for us. Like these things were made for us so that we can feed ourselves, so we can do these things. And I'm trying really hard to like let go of that and just go, I'm buying the thing that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way, that it's like, I don't want to buy this plastic bag, but
Trader Joe's
energy to
step it up, Trader Joe's. Don't make us feel so guilty. Use like the new stuff that is not stay forever in our environment. That'd be great.
Yes. Yeah, there's all kinds of like biodegradable different materials that they make stuff out of, and things that look and feel just like plastic, but it's really like made out of avocado pits or whatever random compostable materials they have nowadays.
And they have like stuff out of like corn, like the ethanol. I was like, this sounds pretty interesting. And there's like the bamboo, and then there's like other countries that package their like takeout food in like really neat things. So it's like there's ways. I just want Trader Joe's to step it up so I don't have to feel guilty all the time. That's really what that all came down to. That's a great tip. What are some of the other ones? You have the Spoonie thing down. You need a blog, like How to Spoonie.
Also, just like not being afraid to ask for help. I think part of it that's been tough is like now I'm more than a year after surgery. So like, of course, in the first couple months, people are like, what can I do? How can I help? Da, da, da. But sometimes it's like, I might still have a bad day, even though it's been more than a year. People kind of forget and are like, oh, you're better, right? So sometimes I'm almost like embarrassed to like no, I am having a bad day. Can somebody help me with this? So just like getting over those things mentally and making sure to ask, a family member, a friend, somebody at work. Luckily, I have really helpful, nice coworkers. My other colleagues are great. We have a lab tech position that's like a part-time person that helps all of us science teachers. So I make sure to try to sign up for him as much as I can. We have like a shared document where we sign up for him. So I try to check, like, okay, I'm not feeling so great today. Is he available? Okay, period 1 and 2, he's here. Let me put my name. And even if it's, like, not anything that big that I need his help with, I'm just like, can you just be here in the class with me? And, maybe I need to go sit, and maybe you can be the person to walk around and help them with the lab equipment or whatnot. So just making sure to have, find that person and not be afraid to ask for the help when you need it, and allow yourself to still have those times to sit and rest. And, if you need to use your heating pad or your ice pack or whatnot, then do it.
Yes. And how do you get the dogs walked? That's actually my big question.
Well, my husband does it a lot. Sometimes I can. So, like, part of my own physical therapy, I try to push myself a little bit to go. So I try to go, like, once a day. Usually the dogs get a walk twice a day. My husband definitely does it twice, and then I try to go at least for one of the times. Kind of depends on the day, though. Like, if I'm having a bad day, if we have a staff meeting and then I get stuck in traffic or something, I might just barely make it home, and maybe I don't walk them that day. But I try once a day, even if it's like we went through blocks and turned right around and came back. It's like, well, we had a little walk and we did a little exercise. So try to do that. My husband does a lot. My neighbors are great. My next door neighbors have a key to our house, so if we ever need them to feed them or let them out or something, I could just text them and be like, hey, can you go let the dogs out? Can you go feed them? And they will. So fortunately, I have a little group of people that I can count on to, short text away, and they'll jump at helping. So that's been really awesome.
That is amazing. I'm deeply jealous. That is wonderful. That's like my biggest guilt, is not walking, but wheeling past my dogs, and they're giving me the sad puppy eyes. I'm like, oh God, how do I? So is there any other tips? You are really good at all the tips. I want you to like start like some sort of like daily or like monthly blog post for us with, here is the monthly Spoonie tip of the month. That would be fantastic.
I guess part of it, though, is your diet really does make a difference. So sometimes, of course, sometimes I don't feel good and I'm just like, fine, let's just get takeout. And for the minute, I'm like, great, we got a meal, and then immediately regret it. So trying to make sure you're eating things that will go okay with your medicine or, with your stomach or whatever disorder you have. Trying your best to keep at least some fresh produce so that it's not all like processed stuff, because it definitely makes a difference. If I'm eating junky food, I definitely feel way worse and get more bloated and achy and yucky. So trying to do your best to eat well as much as you physically can prepare it. Doing your best to try to eat well, because it will definitely make you feel better if you can eat better and all that.
Yeah, and like the Instapot or the slow cooker, yeah. Like you could even go down to like any of the oh God, why can't I think of it? Jesus Christ, I miss my words. Like secondhand stores will usually have Instapots or slow cookers, and they can like, you can get anything you need to do and just get it done in the morning. And
yeah,
we used to do takeout, but we got the Instapot. Like my big thing is Indian food. I love Indian food, and with the Instapot, I made like the best butter sauce ever. And like, okay, we're good now. We non-bread at Trader Joe's, and we've got this, and it has, yeah. So that's my only tip is like, absolutely, with the slow cooker and the Instapot.
Right. We also recently got a rice cooker, so that's been helpful, because we do a lot of rice dishes and stir fries and things, and we usually would do it in the pot and have to stir it, and, I'd be standing there and getting tired cooking, and then I'm like, with my meal prep friends, all of them had rice cookers, and I'm like, why don't we have one of these? It sounded so easy when I talked to them, so we did get one of those recently, so that's been helpful. So yeah, like any of those devices that you can just put the food in, click the button and walk away, or Sometimes, especially when I first went back to work, we did a lot of the meals that are, you mentioned Indian food, so it made me think of that. I like Indian food too. At the food store we shop at has these like pre-made, like masala meals, or like where they have the sauce and the lentils and chickpeas and stuff in it. So it's like, well, maybe we'd make rice ourselves and maybe add veggies to it or tofu or something, but then you just kind of pour that on and heat it up. So any of those little like easy meals make it so much better, save you a little bit of energy here or there. Even if it's like, okay, that saved me 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there and 5 minutes here throughout the day, like you might wind up having an hour more of energy later to then go walk the dogs, or be able to have a conversation with somebody,
or shower. That one.
Shower. Maybe go out. I don't know.
I don't even know what that would be like right now. Saving up spoons for showering right now. If you're like, okay, so I get an Instapot or a slow cooker, what do I do with it? Like, Pinterest is amazing and free, and oh my God, there's like, you will find out how to make anything on that. Or if you are more of a cookbook person, if you have a library card, you can get an app called Libby, and that's an international like library source. So they have all the ebooks right there. So you can like get any book, like almost any book on there, an ebook, and it just delivers to your device. And when it's when your borrowing time is over, it just returns it automatically for you. It's so cool and free. It's part of the library. So that's my new little like happy discovery. I got all these cookbooks. I just went through like for a whole day when I was stuck in bed. I just checked out and returned cookbooks all day and saved the recipes.
That's really cool. Never heard of that.
It's so funny. It's like we were all like rushing over to Amazon and Kindle and Apple Books and Google Play to buy our books. But we have this resource we've already paid for with our taxes, like the library, and the ebooks are the same ones, and they have the same audiobooks on Libby. So the same audiobooks you would have to pay for on Audible, you can just rent on Libby for free. That's my tip for the month.
Well, thank you very much.
Happy to help. You'll be all set. You can go through so many books that way.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, I am actually fading so fast and I've popped my jaw out, so I should probably try to get that back in. But if you came up with any other tips, please send them over to me. I'll put them in the blog. It was so nice to see you. I'm really happy we are able to stay in touch on social media, but it's not a substitute for saying hi.
Yeah. All right. So good to hear from you.
All right. Well, be kind, be gentle, and welcome 2020. Be a badass. I think we're all going to need it.